Experiment Nation, I have a special gift for you. If you're in the Airbnb space, or if you're thinking of getting into the Airbnb space, you're an operator with multiple units, your first unit, your 100th unit, just about to get into Airbnb, you are going to want to get this blueprint that I put together for you. Now, I want to give context of how this was put together, because sometimes people assemble these ideas and top 10 lists, top five, top this, and it doesn't have any true valued vetted content. What I've done is I've surrounded myself by the best top short-term rental Airbnb operators in the world. I co-authored a best-selling book with them called Hospitable Host. I've had them on my platform and interviewed them to get the questions that you guys want to learn the most from into the episode, the show, the real estate experiment, as you know. And I've also paid tens and thousands of dollars to be sitting in the room to get these notable insights that we implement ourselves as short-term rental operators. I'm a short-term rental specialist. I'm licensed to do it in the respective markets. You know, we build ours in Georgia. We have a management company ourselves. We're Airbnb superhosts. So we not only talk the talk, but we walk the walk, but we still consistently surround ourselves with the best in the space to get us further ahead. And this is what we've put together, an Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint, where you don't just hear it from me, you hear it, and it's an aggregate list. It's 21 pillars from short-term rental operators worldwide who've implemented this and it's worked. And these are the exact same way we've been able to get results and get the same results from implementing these insights that I've pulled from multiple faces, right? Some people have tons of arbitrage units like TJ Tijani. Some like Bill Faith have just a few. Some like Michael Shogun has boutique hotels. They've scaled, and whether you have 1 unit, 10 units, or 100th unit, or about to get into your first unit, you're going to want to have this blueprint that you can utilize universally wherever you are in the world. You want to get this. I put together, we took a lot of time to put this together this year after all that we've been implementing in our lab, for you to have a guide that you can leverage, right? That you can use and implement. We've also given and tagged everybody that we've featured in and giving them credit, so you know where the source is coming from, and you can check out their Instagram. You can see that they're vetted individuals that we not only work with and trust but learn from, because sometimes you get a lot of different information, and I want to make sure I give that credit where you can find out that person. And we've also, if they've been on our show, we've also linked the episode within this free blueprint. It's the Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint. Want to make sure you go to experimentrealestate.com. Once you get there, you'll see the pop-up that says I have something for you. Just scroll down, enter your name, enter your email, and we'll get it right sent to you. Don't want to sleep on this. We've been putting this together for quite some time, and I know that it will serve you regardless of where you are in your journey, to have an Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint that has been collectively vetted and has been sourced from operators who are operating at a high scale. Experiment Nation, you are welcome. Make sure to go to experimentrealestate.com and get your Airbnb Millionaire Blueprint, so that you can also scale to the level of experiments that these practitioners like ourselves have done just for you. Experiment Nation, we'll see you on the other side. Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all. Let's get into it, guys. So we are here with Laura, and Laura Villamor, I put some respect on it. And Laura and I connected simply off of just good vibes and energy, right? So I was just talking about this offline, and I kind of literally just, we just hopped into the show. It's happening. But I just want to give the team some context, because it's and the community some context, because it's like, you know, we met and you're just a bundle of good vibes and energy. And obviously at the time I didn't know about, you know, the short-term rentals and etc. Because people at Bigger Pockets, I feel like we are in a sub niche ourselves. Like being in a short-term rental space, not everyone's doing that. Not a lot of people are doing that. It's kind of its own niche. So, like I said, I was just going off of good vibes, and now we are here because we're like, okay, you're totally coming on my podcast. You are we're totally going to connect on the air. And so first of all, I do want to welcome you to the lab officially as a practitioner in the lab. And I'm so excited to kind of like get into it and talk real estate. But most importantly, it's, there's a lot of real estate, but it's about the people within the real estate. And that is you, right? So Laura, welcome to the lab. What's happening?
All right. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, when we met, you were just like, you are my people. And it made me feel so welcome that I was like, yeah, we need to do this podcast.
Oh my gosh. That's so cool. It's funny because so we're at 200 plus episodes now, right?
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And we've had, the coolest people in the mall, the chillest, etc. And they've done etc. But it's really about energy. And I don't know if you're like into this or not, but I do believe in like freak waves and of energy. And I'm like, I can turn on the camera and I haven't met someone before and I say the first hello and the first hi, and I can pretty much tell like how the interview is going to go and that's just because I've been doing it for a while. And I love reading people and stuff like that. And there was something about you. I don't know, Laura, you were just like very vibrant and you were like super like, hey guys, like can't find my husband, but you're my people. And we're like, okay, you are our people. And then then it was just it. And then we just started to chat and it was super cool. And I think that's a gift. Like, I don't think that's like everyone, like some people, like I don't want you to take that for granted. And I do definitely want to give you your kudos while you're on the air because that is a gift and you have that. And so that's why we're here. So thank you for bringing this gift to Experiment Nation.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah. So just to explain that, we met at this yacht party at BPCon, which is a big real estate conference that everyone should go to if they're interested in real estate, because you learn so much and you connect with the coolest people. Yeah. And I was dancing around, having a great time and meeting everyone. And I had lost my husband in the crowd at some point, and that's when I stumbled across Ruben and Sarah, and they were so cool. So let's talk about how myself and my husband got into real estate.
Yeah. So, and let me actually ask you, because BP connected us, we almost owe it to Bigger Pockets to give a big shout out to Bigger Pockets.
Big shout out.
That's a huge kind of, I don't think I've met people from Bigger Pockets that I didn't really like vibe with, like on the level, like seriously, I've had, I think for my wedding, we just got married like 4 months ago. Thank you. I had like 2 Bigger Pockets people there, which is cool, right? Like we met from Bigger Pockets. Like that's crazy, right? And so I was going to ask you, Laura, like how did you get introduced to Bigger Pockets, just to level set, and then we'll get into the real estate. I want to know like kind of the timing.
So my husband is really the one that got me to go to Bigger Pockets and honestly sold me on real estate in general. So I'm a nurse and I've been a nurse for almost 10 years and I've done all kinds of stuff in the nursing world. I've jumped around to different avenues. I've taken care of cancer patients. I've delivered babies. I've done all kinds of cool stuff. Wow. But there came a point where COVID had kind of changed my situation at work, and things were changing in our family as well. You know, we were getting ready to have another baby and it just felt like the right time to do something different. So ultimately I ended up leaving the healthcare space, and then it kind of dawned on us like, you know, now or never could be the time to do something crazy and get into real estate. Because my husband, he loves real estate. He's always wanted to like start his own thing and quit his 9-to-5 and do real estate all the time, all day, every day. So that's when we were like, you know what, we could buy a property and we could figure out how to do a short-term rental. Why not? And it was kind of scary, but we just jumped into it. But yeah, he was into all the real estate stuff. He knew about Bigger Pockets. We actually have some friends of ours that are further in their real estate journey. They do like long-term rentals and they do very well. And they had already been to Bigger Pockets. They invited us to go this year. Nice. And so we kind of coasted in with them and hung out with them a little bit while we were out there. So big shout out to them as well.
Oh my God, for sure. And did you also get a chance to make some other relationships that you felt were pretty fruitful at the conference?
Yeah, I did. I mean, you know, I can talk to anybody. So I sauntered around and met all kinds of people, and it was wonderful. I mean, people were so ready and willing to help. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think what struck me the most is that people were really humble. You know, I wouldn't have ever thought that like you had all of these amazing things going on, because you're just so cool and humble when you talk to you. You don't give off an air like you're really important. You have all this real estate and you've got it figured out, because you do.
Oh,
But
thank you.
I'm sitting here talking to you. I remember I was like, man, you meet the coolest people here. I'm talking to these people and they have all these businesses, and like, man, you would just never know. And here I was talking to somebody who had that same situation, and I really didn't know.
That's really cool. No, thank you. That's very nice of you. Yeah, I mean, shoot, gosh, just constant growth, right? And I think that's why I love going to those places, because I feel like you do find your people. You do find people who are open-minded, willing to learn. That's one of the things I love about my wife. Like, we do this together, and she was open, right? That's all it is. That's all you have to be open to learning and open to hearing new conversations, hearing new concepts. Like, if you go into one of those conferences, be like, I know it all and I got this figured out. The reality is you don't, and things are always changing. And if the minute that you think you know everything is as does the minute you lose, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's definitely the approach to have. Every relationship is important, whether it's someone who is the same level as you, level above you, level below. I think I don't even like to say that. I think that they're different. They're on different chapters, right? Like, that's what we call it, different seasons, right?
Yeah.
And we can all help each other, whether on chapter 1 or chapter 20. And there's always something I can learn from you. And there's always something we can learn from each other, and there's always ways we can help each other. So look at that. Now we're here in the lab, as we
Love
call
it.
it. So just so you, as a FYI, we call this the lab for a reason. My whole thing is like, the real estate experiment, fail, learn, repeat, right?
Hmm.
And it's like you put your lab coat on, and it's like there are proven experiments that have worked. And my goal is to like share with Experiment Nation what experiments have worked, so that they can pick one experiment and pick one lab report, and then double down on the one that you resonate with the most, right? So there
Nice.
might be someone else that's like, oh my god, I'm a nurse too, so I'm very curious as to how Laura kind of broke into real estate as well, because I resonate with Laura, therefore I think I can use her true and tested blueprint, and experiment, right? So that's the goal. And so we've had a lot of different, kind of individuals who come in here and talk about different models. But I guess for you guys, right? You and Mr. V, how did you come to the short-term rental? Like, that was always like a very interesting. And when I say short-term rentals, it's known in the industry as Airbnb. How did you fall into that? Because I know that it's definitely not the majority of what people start with. You mentioned this already. Like, there's long-term rentals, there's multifamily, there's fix and flipping. Like, the experiments continue on and on. Why this
Yes.
one?
Oh, what a good question. Um, I'm not going to give myself all the credit, but I kind of think it was my idea.
Let's go, Laura. Talk to
Okay,
us.
so he had talked to me about getting into real estate and long-term rentals and short-term rentals, and just kind of like snowballing ideas and what should we do kind of thing. And short-term rentals just sounded fun. You get to decorate them. I get to talk to people. That's me. I got to connect with you.
Yeah.
We're going to have some conversations, like, and I do with my guest. It's my favorite thing to message them back and forth. And I'll tell you more about the type of guests that we have and why that's so fun for me. But it's just nice to be able to feel like it's something I can make my own, rather than just like, okay, we bought it and we're leasing it and we're making some cash flow and that's cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, it's more about the people, and I can connect more with people through short terms, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, because it's a lifestyle business at this point. It's like, okay, and I'd love to hear how involved you are, but I think one of my favorite things about the short-term rental, like you talk about, like I have different companies, etc. But it's like
Mm.
this one I love because there's so many components that you can like pull in that either you love or pull in people in your family. So for me personally, I love the fact that I can do this with my family, right? And I feel like I sound like a broken record because I've said this twice today already on three different calls. The fact that I can literally, that's how much I believe in it. It's like, it's, being able to like pull in my family, like my wife, like we do the furniture. Like I love designing. I love that too. Don't sometimes y'all be giving too much credit to the females. I love the design part of it too, right? Because sometimes like you go to these conferences, but like there's like the lady side, and it's like the designing. I'm like, no, hold on. Like I remember sharing like a design to my buddy. I was like, oh, Celine did that. I'm like, what? Excuse you, I did that. Like, so I appreciate that part. I appreciate the being able to pull in like cleaning team. Like at first, my sister was involved, right? She was in college, wanted to make extra buck, and she's super reliable, so we pulled her in. And like having my brothers, my parents-in-law, like pulling everybody in is just, it's so fun because you can kind of share this joy, and that's really what I love about this industry. So for you, I want to hear your engagement with guests. You mentioned that's like a thing that like you love. Like what kind of guests do you bring to your short-term rentals, and how do you insert the Laura personality, the bubbly personality that we all know you have? How does that get
Okay.
inserted? I'm curious.
So our short-term rental right now, we have one.
Mhm.
Okay. So our short-term rental is in a place called Beaufort, South Carolina. And
Nice.
you're probably thinking, I don't know where that is, because that's what everyone says when I tell them that. Well,
I
let me
don't know
tell
where
you.
that is, but I said nice because there's a Beaufort, Georgia, where it's an area in close to Atlanta and has really good food. So I was like automatically like, nice. I like that. It's Beaufort.
Oh,
Go ahead. Tell me
yes.
about
Oh, yes.
Beaufort. Yeah.
I do. I know about that place too.
Yeah.
So Beaufort is like, okay, everyone knows Charleston, South Carolina,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful, historic, right by the water.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So Beaufort is like Charleston's like little sister that not everybody has met, but she's coming into her own. Okay.
You don't.
So it actually is the second oldest city in South Carolina behind Charleston. It's on the water, so it's very much like low country. Everybody's really sweet there. Southern hospitality reigns supreme. Got the Spanish moss swaying in the trees. I love it there, honestly. And it's like 30 minutes from the beach, so it's not like beach town, but it is close enough that you can go to the beach and it's really nice there.
So this is South Carolina, right?
South Carolina. It's actually pretty close to Georgia. So
Yeah.
it's really in between. Like, here's Charleston, here's Savannah, and Beaufort's in the middle. It's pretty close to Hilton Head.
I'm literally Googling it right now because
Oh, good.
no, I'm like, I want to see some
on the
pictures.
map.
Oh, literally, this is very cute. This is very, very cute.
Yes.
And so you were saying because of that area, the people that it attracts. Talk to me. It sounds like you're making
Yes.
some, yeah.
I'm making a move. I'm getting somewhere with this. Okay. So the reason that we picked Beaufort is because there is a Marine base there. So Marines graduate. There's only two bases they can graduate from. One is on the West Coast and one is on the East Coast. And the one on the East Coast is at Paris Island, which is right beside Beaufort. Okay. They graduate Marines every single week. And people from all over the country need a place to stay.
You're
and
kidding.
Where do they stay? They stay with me.
Are you serious? That I had no idea.
This
so
is like a hidden market. Nobody really realizes that this is going on. Beaufort's not super built up yet. So Airbnbs are kind of like your first choice, even for people that don't typically stay at Airbnbs.
So you guys you're saying every week?
Mm-hmm.
Man, may I ask how often you guys are booked? I mean, like, what would you say your occupancy is?
Right now, I would say we're about 80, sometimes 90%. I mean, we do really well. We do really well. The only thing is that sometimes we have bookings where people don't stay the whole week, like you would at like a resort or vacation. They'll come in for graduation and then they might peace out. Sometimes they'll stay and enjoy Beaufort because there's lots to do, but not everybody knows that. So some people just book it to come and then leave. Plus, sometimes Marines are like dying to get home because they've been there for 3 months. So like basically my guest, they haven't seen their kids. Usually it's their kids that are the Marine graduates. They can't talk to them. They haven't seen them for 3 months. So when they come, they're so dang happy.
Oh my
So it's
gosh, you're
like,
catching them on a high.
exactly. So, even if my house isn't 100% perfect, they had a great time because it was a wonderful stay for them. They got to see their Marine. And I
Yeah.
love like
Wow.
jumping in on that energy and just like, hey, welcome. Let me tell you what there is to do, where you need to go eat. If you need anything, I'm right here. I know you're so excited for your Marine. Congratulations in advance, that kind of thing. That's the vibe that I got going on.
Wow, that's sick. Okay, wait. So there's a few things that come to mind. Like, A, I love that you're doing that because I think it's so appropriate for your market. Like one of the things, and I'm gonna bring this full circle. I just like to connect the dots as my brain goes in a million places when someone like you is speaking and giving so many great insights. It's we went to our honeymoon, we went to Italy, and we stayed at I think we stayed at 2 or 1 Airbnb, I think, right? 1 or 2. And then the rest were
Appropriate.
hotels. But what we were fascinated about was that the host would greet you. And
Oh.
like literally we had the host greet us onto like a hill. She was a super sweet lady. Then she walked over to the restaurant and like booked the spot for us for that night, speaking Italian. And I was just like, dude, like this was after like we had just like launched the book, which I'm very proud of being a co-author on. It's called Hospitable Host. And I was like, that's next level. Like that's it. Like we do everything remotely and we try our best. We leverage technology and we're very responsive. Like that's what we're good at. But that extra touch in the right market is everything. And I think here's how I'm bringing it full circle. You being able to capitalize on that high energy, high touch point, building the rapport with them. And then honestly, I feel like you're the type of host that would just make me happy, even if I wasn't happy. So you're like 10xing the what's the called the adrenaline that they have. That's amazing. And so let me ask you, are you like meeting the guests, Laura? Are
I
you
can't.
are you
I'm remote. I'm
close?
remote
You are remote.
because we're
Okay.
like 4 hours at least from Beaufort.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
usually I'll connect with them when they book. I'll reach out to them and like
Yeah.
congratulate them and kind of like make sure they don't need anything. And everybody's pretty good about reaching out to me too.
Yeah.
Where should we go? What should we do? And I just really capitalize on that opportunity to connect with anybody because I
Yeah.
just kind of like to put a little bit of personality out there so that they kind of know, look, I'm like your best friend that you haven't met yet, but now you have, and you're staying in my house and I got you.
What is that? I gotta ask you because like we can see it here, like as you're listening. It's like if you haven't kind of like, you know, just if you're not Laura's biggest fan, then I don't know what it is right now. Like maybe that's your problem. But how do you transfer that over to someone who's remote who might be like, hey, I'm a people's person too. Like I connect with Laura's energy. How do you transfer that energy over? Is it through text? Is it through
So
call? Like
this
I'm very curious.
it's very silly sounding, but I use a lot of emojis.
That's cute. I didn't even know that.
Because otherwise how would they know that it's coming off like, you know? So I try not to overdo it or anything, but I send a lot of little smiley faces. And I think that just the way that I word things in text sometimes, now I talk different to men than I do women because I don't want to come off flirtatious. That would be weird.
Uh-huh.
But, most of my guests are women usually
Yeah.
booking with me. So I'm just kind of like, oh, yeah, this is what I like to do. This is where you can go. Congratulations again. Like,
Oh,
just,
nice. I can see it. So exclamation marks,
yeah,
emojis.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You strike me as a person that has a favorite emoji. What's your favorite emoji?
Oh, it's the dancing girl in the red dress.
I feel like I was
100%.
seeing it as you were like, I love it. The dancing,
Anytime I get
that's
an
the salsa
opportunity
girl,
to
right?
wear a red dress, it's on. So that
Yeah.
girl is me.
If you guys are listening right now and you're not seeing Laura on the screen, she is literally wearing a red dress. So she talks the talk and walks the walk. Like
That's
she's the
right.
real deal. That's super awesome. I gotta ask you, are you using like digital guidebook or anything like that?
No, what's digital guidebook?
Oh, cool. I think this will serve you well. You should try out Hostfully.
Hostfully. Is it like
Yeah.
Hospitable? Is that kind of the same technology?
It's basically what I can't speak for a hospital because I don't know it. And honestly,
It's
my
a
wife set up Hostfully, but I geek out on it because I was connecting it to her PMS. And the cool
mm,
thing is, what I like about it, it has like Wi-Fi, grabs picture of the home, and then it will pull local activities and restaurants of what to do, and then you can select your own as well, and or you can just go by what's recommended locally. uh
hmm.
that's pretty cool.
That is cool. It's like a
Yeah,
guidebook, right? Like
yeah,
on
the digital, yeah,
Airbnb.
it's a digital guidebook, but what we do is we're sending it in after they check in. We're sending it to them as
Oh,
yeah, like as an automated message that goes out like 2 hours after they check in. It's like, so I hope you
okay.
settled in. Also, here's this guidebook if it's your first time here, I've never looked. And the reason I say that that would
Ah,
serve you well is because either you can open a conversation and then kind of like really be involved if you want to be, or just serve it to them because you mentioned that some people don't know that there is stuff to do here, perhaps, or they don't know what to do.
hmm.
I just thought that could serve you well. As you were saying, I was like, ooh, I wonder if she knows about Hostfully.
Hostfully.
Yeah.
Definitely sounds awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, check it out. And throw all our listeners too. I think I mean we love to leverage as much as we can. I mean now we're definitely gonna be leveraging emojis. That's a good tip there from Laura, because I was like, how do you transfer that energy over? But what else would you say do you think is from what you've seen is something that you feel is it's very subtle, but you notice has like a pretty high impact on the guest. And I know it's come kind of like coming out of nowhere with this, but I'm just curious as to I always find something that's a little subtle, little things that we sometimes think don't matter that do make a difference. Like an emoji might like, oh wow, that like she's genuinely excited for me to come. Like, thank you for the smiley face, right? Like, is there anything other in this industry that you see as like a little subtle thing that you feel has like a great kind of impact?
Yeah, you already mentioned it, so I know you're already nailing this in your own short-term rentals,
Mhm.
but it's responsiveness. I respond pretty quick, and my husband knows that I'm not good at keeping up with my phone, so he is like, "Wear your Apple Watch all the time, so it will notify you, so you can respond to people."
I love that.
And it works. But I think that's something that I see very often in my comments when I get my reviews. They're always like, Laura was always responsive. Laura was always there when I needed her. Like, and they'll thank you. Thank you for being there. Thank you for answering this little question. And those things go a long way.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that because it's like I genuinely believe like small mom and pops like us, right, have an advantage over the big corp people who are like dial one and like and literally
Uh,
and because that's what people are used to, right? Whether I'm like I don't know if you've noticed this, but I personally, Laura, think like the service has just the bar has been lowered so low these days. It's so like for you to expect to get what you pay for or get someone to respond to you or respond to you like via email or anything, like it's just it's like it's so hard that I genuinely feel that this gives us an edge and an advantage in industry, a small industry or in our small businesses where we can truly have that impact on people because they're used to being told that someone's going to call them back and guess what, no one calls back. They're used to messaging in somewhere and guess what, no one messages back, right? No one answers on time. And I genuinely believe that that's where the opportunity is in our business as well, and it's just very small things.
I totally agree. Also, I feel like more people are starting to realize that Beaufort is a hidden gem as far as short-term rentals, right?
Yeah.
So I had this epiphany like maybe a couple months ago. I was like, okay, we're doing really good, but what can we do to make ourselves stand out and be different and give something that other people aren't doing? And I decided to give our Airbnb a theme. Right now, it's not like in your face theme because I feel like that would be a lot, but it's kind of like a subtle, fun theme. And the theme is Forrest Gump. So we're calling our house the Low Country Gump House.
That's
I
so
just did
cool.
this like a couple weeks ago. And the reason that we did Forrest Gump is because it ties in Beaufort's history, because part of the movie was filmed in Beaufort. There's like a
I did
Forrest Gump
not
bridge there.
know that. Hey,
Yeah.
do you have that? Like, are you gonna implement that into like the house somehow?
Yes. So I have like a wall of the house where I just have like boom, 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 like little pictures of like where they filmed in Beaufort and like what happened, like who the people are in the
Oh
community that were
wow.
a part of the movie, like ties it together.
I love
Yeah.
that. Oh my gosh, please do send pictures. We want to show that. Maybe by the I don't know how far are you into this project? You just roll this out?
Yeah, we just rolled this out like a couple weeks ago. So it's not like anything crazy, like I said, but I put like little quotes around the house and like snuck some little like Forrest Gump mugs onto like my coffee
Yeah.
shelves. And I've got, of course, like a big poster of the movie poster, like right when you walk in. And I made the kids' room like Bubba Gump shrimp. And so there's like
Oh,
little shrimp
Bubba
on the
Gump.
wall.
That is so cute. Wait, you have to send
Yeah.
pictures. Oh my
Okay,
God.
I will. Yeah,
It's
I'd
not
love
live or
to.
anything. It's not anything. We can't see it right now. Can we? We can't like give a link. It's in the works.
It is in the works, so I can send you pictures after if you want. Yay.
I geek out. I told you I'm a design like addict. So I like that stuff, that concept of it. Just I love
Yeah.
like having an idea and then seeing it come to fruition. Where do you get your inspiration from, Laura?
I don't know. My wheels are always turning. I am very creative.
Mhm.
We really had to be that too. When we set up, let me tell you about how we started this, okay?
Yeah.
This is my new mantra right now, and it's do the things that scare you. Okay.
I love
So
that.
because you have to take a risk in order to really do something marvelous that's outside your comfort zone. Like real estate for me, that's not my comfort zone. Now, if you started choking and you were right here with me, I could save you and it wouldn't even be a big deal. But tell me to go analyze a real estate deal and I might start sweating.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. But anyway, so when we decided to buy our house, we bought a house sight unseen in a place we'd never
Mm.
been. So
Wow.
talk about do the things that scare you a little bit, but it turned out to be so good. I mean, we did our research on it. Obviously, we had figured out that there was this market here where the houses were affordable. There were people coming in from out of town all the time. We knew what we were doing. We just had never been there and we had to
Yeah.
make a move, and the timing, it had to happen. Then we set up the house in 2 weeks. I was pregnant
Wow.
and we just kind of like made it happen. So it was scary at times. There were times when I told my husband, like, there's no way I can do that. I can't set up a house on that budget, but I did. And I had to be really creative, is what I'm getting at. Creativity was key.
I love that. We're gonna get into the numbers if you don't mind in a little bit and like the creativity and stuff. But I
Sure,
wanna touch on something you mentioned because
sure.
I genuinely believe that sometimes um we actually underestimate like how many reps it takes, right? Like you've saved, I mean, you've literally had people's life in your hands who depend on you of like I'm sure hundreds and hundreds at this point, right? Um,
Yeah.
or you would say, right? At least a dozen of dozen.
Oh
And for
no,
me,
definitely.
okay, so
Probably more the other number.
okay, there you go. I just want to level set. They always say go lower first, and then it's like, yeah. So, because if I would have said 1,000, then it's like, well, maybe I'm not there. But like either way, whether it's hundreds, that's a lot of reps, right? Like the 10,000 hour rule, right? And you're comfortable with that now, and it's your norm, right?
Yeah.
For you, so if there's someone else that's listening that's like, well, I can really connect with Laura right now, like, but tell me about like what it takes for you to transition into to this new ecosystem, this new environment that I'm not close to. What is that? Because we always talk about it and you hear someone, you're like, oh, Laura's so much better than I am. But like if you're gonna tell someone, um, if you're gonna tell someone like does that look like tactically? Like you have two kids, like you have a job, like your husband as well. Like there's a lot there. What does that look like tactically? Or just how do you plant that seed and start, getting to a space that you're not comfortable with?
Well, that's a great question. I think that you have to present yourself over and over, more and more knowledge. The more you can learn about a subject, the more you'll start to understand that it's not as scary. Yes, it's a risk. Yes, you could lose money. It could not work. But if you educate yourself, it's like you're managing the risk. You know what I mean? So
100%.
podcast, Bigger Pockets podcast, reading so many books.
Yeah.
Here's the book I'm reading right now.
Oh, I'm curious. Oh, investing in real estate with no money down, Brandon Turner.
This is called We Need to Scale, but we don't have money. So Brandon Turner's teaching me.
I love, but you know what? This is how you should read, right? I genuinely believe it's like, hey, what is the next problem that I have that's in front of me? That's my next book. Opens up another door. Great. I've overcome that obstacle. What's the next thing in this journey or in this staircase that I need to read this book? And like, I genuinely believe that that's how we should be reading books. I treat books like consultants. So I have many consultants on my team, right?
I'm sure.
On my shelf, right? They're in my shelf that this is what I follow on. And I think if you're not a books person, it's good that you're like, okay, maybe like what's the podcast that I need to be listening to plant the seeds? Did I get that right, Laura? Like, so what was it in your life? Just so we can give some real tactical, because like it gets real out here. Like it gets like I was just talking to this a buddy of mine who just launched a podcast, and I asked him a key question because to his question that he asks basically investors, like, what is your biggest weakness, etc. And there was a bunch of them who said, not having enough time. And then I asked him, well, that's not really a weakness. That's just the weakness is not being productive with the time, because we all have the same amount of time. Now I'm jaded because I had a TEDx talk about that. Like, I'm like literally like, I love just this conversation of time. So what does that look like in your world when it comes to time? If we're asking real people here, we're not asking people who are just like, oh yeah, like I'm financially free, let me just read all day. Like maybe they have a job, maybe they have commitments, maybe they're raising kids, etc. Like what does it look like in your life? Is it like while you're driving? Is it like after like the kids to sleep and you like tell yourself you're going to read 2 pages? Like what does that look like tactically for the real people out there in the back, please?
Oh, okay, you want to get real.
Yeah, let's get real out here. Come on, we're trying to keep it. My goal is to keep this as real as possible.
Okay, real.
Yeah, let's real stuff. Vulnerable, real life stuff.
It's hard. So I have a baby, I have a toddler, I have a husband. I'm pretty much a stay-at-home mom at this point, but I do have other little things that I'm doing too. But okay, so usually if I'm reading, I have a baby that's asleep on me or pulling my hair, and my toddler is supposed to be sleeping, but really he's pooping and going, Mom, poop, bring wipes. And I'm like,
that's exactly what he says, a 6 months old too. I'm just saying, like Laura's done a really good job that the kid's ahead of his time.
100%. Yeah, so I just try to squeeze it in whenever I can. And honestly, I've had to also kind of take this mentality, like you're not learning less just because you only got through 3 pages of your book today. You're still learning more by doing a little bit. You know what I mean?
I love that. I think that's really good for people to hear, because I think that's how we fail. I don't know if you would agree. Is that how you think people fail? I don't want to ask the question that way because I'm like baiting you into thinking what I think. Let me ask you what you think. Okay. Like, because you can't be like, don't you think that's true? And then you're like, yeah, I guess it is, because like you kind of set me up for it. Like, no, I'll share with you the thought I was thinking. I'm like, I feel that people fail because they'll set goals that are like, that doesn't give them the opportunity to be modified, right? So it's like, I gotta read 5 pages a day, and then you get slammed that day and you're like, dude, I only had a page to read. And they're like, well, if it's not 5, then it's not right. And then it's like, oh, okay, I failed. And then you tell yourself, well, I'm not a person who can do goals, right? Like I just I say I'm going to do something and I can't. But you're being too hard on yourself. If it's 2 lines, 1 page, like it matters. And I'm reading The Compound Effect right now. That's why that really resonated with me, what you said. But what do you think? That's what I think. I could be wrong. Do you think it's consistency? Do you think it's a number? Do you think it's just the action? Like, what do you think is important for someone to kind of like keep it moving towards their goal?
Um, that's a good question. The way that you're saying it, like yes and no. Like
Ooh,
yes,
challenge
you
me. Talk
do
to me.
have to be consistent,
Mm-hmm.
but I like how you're trying to say, like, you don't need to tell yourself, because I will tell myself, I'm gonna read a chapter every day, I'm gonna get up early, I'm gonna do all these things. And let's be honest, that does not always happen. Like some days I don't read at all.
Keyword is always though, right? Always.
Right. But I always come back to it. And that,
Mm.
mantra that I kind of talked about before, where it's like, I'm not learning less by getting through 3 pages of my book or even doing just a little bit. That's kind of coming from a Bigger Pockets podcast that I just happened upon. They were interviewing Ed Milet. Have you ever heard of him? And yeah,
Love
the
and my
power
life.
of one more. So that's kind of where
Whoa,
that
talk
is
to
coming
me.
from.
Max out. Max out.
Yeah, my husband is listening to that book right now that Ed Milet wrote, and
Wow.
he said it was really impactful for him. It must have been because my man is getting up and working out, and he wasn't doing that
Ooh,
before. And I'm like, oh, okay,
let's
yeah, I
go.
like this
Okay,
book.
Mr. V, we see you. Okay.
He was working out, just to be clear, but he is now doing it in the morning, which is very
Yeah.
unusual for him. He would want me to clarify.
Yeah. No, I saw him. He looks fit. Speaking, so I'm just digesting the comment of the Ed Milet comments. Yeah, I already knew you were my people, right? I mean, the Ed Milet, all that. But the reason I love that, and you can give yourself a break. Celine's coming here. Wifey's here.
Wifey.
Yeah. No, so the reason why I think that it's the reason why I think it's really there's a way to, and it's not, I shouldn't say I think, because I learned this through I think it's MJ DeMarco, which happens to be the reason why I'm saying I think it is because I literally learned everything from him, but it could have been someone else who had said it. Give yourself a don't set daily goals, set weekly goals. And the reason why that's interesting is I used to always think, I'm like, like that's interesting. The reason why that's interesting is because it gives you a break from not being able to hit things, right? So if I say I need to do this 4 times this week, if I got slammed on Tuesday, I'm like, it's okay. I have 6 more attempts, right? Or in this case, whatever the math is on that, what's 7 minus 4 or whatever. Like I have 3, I'm allowed 3 misses, right? And it's because that will happen, right? Like something unforeseen event happens or etc. So I started recently making this tweak of like, what do I need to get done this week? And this is just an interesting conversation because it's not for everyone. Like, you might not work for you, or you might be a drill sergeant. Like, no, every single day I gotta do this. Fine. But I think in order, why I really like that, Laura, is because then you're saying if I need to read, let's say 20 pages a week, right? Then what happens is you could get on a binge one day and you're on a roll and you read 10, right? But then the next day you're like, oh, I only had time to read 2. Well, guess what? Now you have 8 more pages left and you can figure out the rest, right? You can do 3 one day, 3 another, and get what you get to your goal. Now, if you do that every single week and you do 20 pages, let's say, then the compound effect happens over time and you're giving yourself permission to not be perfect, but consistent. And over time, that
Yes.
consistency gives you the result, right? But then there's the other person that says, that gets super hyped, and I know because I used to be a personal trainer, like, I'm ready to go, let's do this every single day. And it's funny because I'm in this right now. I'm doing a TikTok challenge, 30 posts, 30 days. It's one now I'm hosting, and like people tend to fall off and they struggle. That's what happens because life happens, and then you beat yourself up for missing that day where you have like a 3-day streak and you missed the 4th, and then you're like, oh, I missed it. And then you're like, well, if I missed that one time, then it's kind of like I've psychologically given myself permission to miss the 4th day and 5th day. And then it's kind of like, yeah, basically I didn't do it, right? And then you're almost giving yourself a pass, where when you do have the weekly goals, you can always make it up and give yourself permission to be a human, but still be consistent. Just
want to know a secret?
Yeah.
So like, I'm trying to learn Spanish because, my husband, he's kind of Spanish and he speaks pretty good Spanish. I want my kids to be fluent.
Oh,
so it's really hard. I have to get on Duolingo every day and practice, right?
Yeah.
The way that I keep myself from like losing interest in doing this is that I will not allow myself to get on my Instagram, which is my favorite social media, my personal Instagram,
Yeah.
until I've done this. So the
Oh, I'm
FOMO
totally gonna
keeps
be
me
DMing
up.
you.
And I'm like, I got to get on Instagram, so I got to go do Spanish.
I love that. So tying it to something you're already doing too is really good.
Yeah, because let's be honest, we're all addicted to some form of social media. So just play
Yeah.
into the addiction. It's already bad for you. So use
Mm,
it for the good.
wow. That's a really good one though. Seriously, that's a really good one. You're already doing it. So tie a bad habit to something good.
Yes.
Wait, I heard it here first. That's
You did.
crazy. Listen, I like literally I knew this would happen because we have such good energy. Let's talk about this deal that you have that is let's talk about what you got it for. Let's talk about how you found it. And tell me like what were you guys doing leading to that? Because we talked about the reason why we even got on this topic being consistent is like the reps that need to get in. So let's just go back and level set for a second. Like how many deals were you looking at before this? You know, what was kind of like your workflow in analyzing these deals for someone at home who's listening to be like, okay, like this is nice, but what do I do? Do I turn on realtor.com like and start doing a search? Like, do I look at Zillow? Do I go to a
Yes,
realtor?
honestly, yes. You just jump in and you go for it. That is
Love
the
it.
only way that you're going to find where you're going. We had no idea where to start. So we started everywhere. We looked through all the Zillow and all the things. And honestly, to make a long story short, we went through first, we wanted to invest in Florida. Then we decided logistically that would be really stupid because we have little kids and I was pregnant and we'd be flying back and forth trying to look at houses and get properties set up. And we were like, yeah, we're not going to do that. Plus, I went on Airbnb and like looked through all the properties that were already in the area that we had kind of thought about, and they were like baller. And I was like, yeah, I can't afford to buy anything like that. So we're not going to be competitive.
What area are you looking? I'm curious.
It was, let me think of the name. It was Coral. What is it?
Or Coral Gables.
Coral Gables sounds right. Yeah, because near
Yeah, that's
Tampa,
where
right?
Miami is.
Yeah,
What's
yeah, yeah.
that?
It's near
Near
Tampa,
Tampa.
right? No,
Coral
not Coral
Gables? No,
Gables
that's
near Miami.
oh, not that one. Okay.
No, there was a different place. I can't think of
Oh,
what it's
interesting.
called anymore. But we looked towards Tampa and we looked actually in Naples first.
Yeah.
They don't like STRs. Not everyone is STR friendly.
Yeah.
You
Good for
figure
you for
that
doing
out
your
as you
homework.
go.
Where'd
So
you
there was
where'd
too
you
much.
where'd you figure that out, by the way, just as FYI for everyone who's listening?
Oh, how did I figure it
Yeah,
out?
yeah.
It was actually pretty evident online that they were like, and actually we talked to a couple realtors now that I think about it. They were the ones that
Yeah.
clued us in. The realtors know what's going on. And they were like, you're really not going to be able to find much. And if you do, there's going to be a lot of regulations. And we were kind
Yeah.
of like, oh, okay. So then we
Some
nicked,
areas have minimums too. Sorry to cut you off, Laura. I was just gonna add
oh
that some
no,
areas have
you're right.
minimums too.
You're
Like
right.
7-day minimums. Like,
Yes. Yes. Certain cities are not into the short-term rentals. Like
yeah.
apparently Nashville changes their rules all the time. So it's kind of a scary place to buy. But
Yeah.
anyways, so Florida, nix that. Too much going on, too hard. So we decided, okay, well, Hilton Head is like a really cool spot. Everybody loves Hilton Head, and that's pretty close. We could probably drive there with kids. So we started looking there. We got a realtor. He was pretty cool. He wasn't the most responsive realtor I've ever had. Like we came down there and then he was kind of like, oh, y'all wanted to look at properties? Huh? Well, I don't know if I can do it this weekend. We're like, no, we talked about doing it this weekend. We're going. So we made him show us properties. He got it together though. He did fine. He showed us all the things we wanted to see. But we were looking at condos.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm still trying to digest that. You want me, the realtor, to show you properties? Sorry.
It was kind of
Oh my
like
God.
that. It was kind of like that, Ruben. I'm not gonna lie. So,
Oh my
anyways, we got it together. We saw some condos, and we didn't realize that there were so many different things you had to know about loans. So, if you're trying to get a loan on a condo in Hilton
Mhm.
Head, you're looking at not you can't do like a regular loan on that. You got to do like a investment or like an no, what's it called? A vacation loan, right?
Mm.
So it's like a whole nother thing. And you got to put down like a really nice down payment, like 25-30%.
Really sweet and
Like
juicy
a little
and heavy.
nicer than what we were wanting to put
Yeah.
down or what we could afford at the time, you know. So we were kind of like, okay, we didn't realize that we were going to have to compete with all the things that are going on here because it's majority condos. It's very competitive. Things are getting bought out like right from under you. And there's also like things that are already being an Airbnb and they're trying to do some complicated stuff like sell you the actual property, but hold all of the people that are pre-booked. And there's like conditions on what you can do
Whoa.
with that. Yeah. So
That's
we were like,
messy.
okay, this seems like something that maybe as brand new real estate investors, we should maybe work our way into. This market is a little too hot for us and a little too complicated. So we kind of like shied away and we're like, okay, what now? Well, our realtor, who wasn't maybe the most incredible realtor for us, turned out to be our golden ticket because he lived in Beaufort. And he just happened to talk about Beaufort while we were waiting to see one of these condos. And he was saying, oh, yeah, you know, I actually have an Airbnb. And the reason that it works out is because there's these people coming in from Marine graduation every weekend. And it's kind of nice. And I was like, you don't say.
No way. That's
Yes.
interesting. Wow.
So I actually was like, you know, Beaufort doesn't really seem like a glamorous place. And I was kind of excited to have like a house in a cool area. But I started looking at Realtor online. Maybe there's some cool houses there. I don't know. So I found one that was like a recent flip that was for sale. And I thought, well, you know, that's kind of a cool house and it's within our price range. And maybe I kind of like that. Well, of course, it sold like immediately after I liked it. And
Oh.
that's fine. But it kind of just made me think like, well, maybe there's something out there that we could like. So I showed my husband and was kind of like, all right, don't think I'm crazy because I know this is not at all what we were thinking. But what about Beaufort? Like, what if we just got a single family home there and just kind of made it into something cool? And so we started looking and we actually ended up parting ways from our realtor that we were using at the time and finding a new realtor who
In Beaufort.
was who was so great. He ended up having a connection to a guy that flips houses and basically was like, hey, you know, if you like any of these, we'll just sell it to you off market before anybody even gets to see it. So we picked between two houses that were in progress and we got it before it even went on Zillow because
No
our
way.
realtor was the man. And he's still like a good friend of ours and we stay in
Oh.
touch, obviously.
Okay, I love that story because I actually really like the thought process behind, like, I love how you were kind of describing as you're thinking, oh, okay, that's not going to work for now. This is probably not what we want to do for our first deal. This is too far because of the kids, etc. And what you're essentially doing is you're building your own criteria.
Yep.
Like, this is what's going to work, this is what's not going to work, which is I think the initial blueprint. And I heard recently, I think a shout out to Mike Elefante, we had him on here, and I think he said something key. He's like, don't, and I hope I don't butcher this, but it was something to the likes of like, you know, start your investment strategy based on where you are right now, right? Not like
right
where you want to be. Like, you'll get there, but like start with what you have instead of saying like, oh, we don't have enough money. Okay, cool, but we have this. What can we do with it? With this money that we have, can we afford something here in Beaufort? Can we afford something in our backyard? Can we afford something out of state? Can we do rental arbitrage? Can we, like, what can we do with what we have? Not like,
exactly,
this is what we want and we can't do it. That's not really like problem solving. I just love, as I don't even think you realized it, but as you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, like she's logically thinking with Mr. V, shout out to Mr. V, and they're plotting and making decisions on okay, this is what's the next best step for us. It doesn't mean that you might not end up in Florida, but you needed a stepping stone to get there. And I think that's just so important. And honestly, that's a really good job of like walking us through that. And then the people, isn't it always about the people?
It's always about the people.
Yes. Isn't it though? Like, seriously, like, shoot, we might invest in Beaufort together. I don't know. Shoot, power of the podcast.
Let's do it. I'm in.
Yeah, like, oh my god, like, that's crazy. What a time to be alive. So what for context, what was the, kind of what price ranges are we looking out there? And then like what are kind of some of the returns are getting? Like let's get into that because I'm sure people are like, okay, like we're getting really excited now. And by the way, the pie is big enough for everyone. So it's kind of like, okay, like what is this golden kind of ticket that you got? What are we looking at in this market?
Yes. Okay. So just going to go ahead and warn you that the numbers are my husband. He does all the numbers, but I will give you the rough
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah,
I
rough
know the
numbers.
numbers enough.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So we bought our house. Now we bought it a year ago. So the market was a little different, but we bought it for 310 and it's a ranch. It's a 3-bedroom. It's about 1,600 square feet, 2 baths.
Nice.
It's really pretty. It was newly renovated. Like we bought it from the flipper friend of our realtor,
Wow.
right? He does really good work. It's like whitewash brick and there's like these huge live oaks and a really spacious backyard that's fenced. And it's just like so gorgeous back there. Honestly, it's way cooler than my current backyard at the place where we live, but that's okay. I try not to think about that.
And how did you guys get into this deal? Was it you, because you mentioned right now, do you rent where you live? Do you own where you live? Like, what was the strategy there?
We own where we live right now. We live in a beautiful area that's in a really hot area outside of Charlotte as far as real estate goes. Like we are so lucky that we got this house when we did for what we bought
Charlotte
it
is
for.
hot.
Woo! Our house has definitely doubled in its home
No way.
value.
How much did you buy it for?
We bought this house for about 250, which is nuts. And it's definitely worth double that now.
That's crazy. Are you guys gonna think about tapping into that equity or are you gonna wait?
Yes, actually, we are thinking about it. That was our first idea when we were hey, what now? We were like, well, our house is a really nice asset. We have a lot of equity in our house. And I don't anticipate that this market where we live is going to do anything but prosper just because we know that they're building some really awesome stuff that's going to even increase home values around us.
Oh, I love that. Is that you said that is Charlotte for you or you're outside Charlotte?
We're outside Charlotte. We're like closer to the Lake Norman area.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, we're in a good spot.
Oh, good for you. I love hearing those stories because it's I think even where you live is such a key decision. But so you guys actually had bought this before you decided to get into this. I guess this would be like the first investment property, right? And you're thinking,
the first investment. Yep. So, we owned our house and then we decided to do this second house. We bought it for 310. We did the second home loan since it was far enough away from our house. So we did 10% down. And then we just scrounged up a budget after closing costs and everything. I think we made ourselves do like an extra $10,000 to try to furnish it, which is honestly, I think kind of slim, but I made it work because I thrifted everything except, obviously couches, bedding, all of that was like brand new and really nice. But anything that was like tables or whatever, I love thrifting. Honestly, it's like something I've always really enjoyed.
Where do you go? Where do you go for thrifting? Is it local shops or is it?
So let me tell you, I had to go locally when I was in Beaufort, and I pretty much just set out with my toddler and my baby bump and was like, hi, I'm here at the Salvation Army store and I need a table, a desk, a chair, this and that, and this and that. We didn't even have a truck. We had a friend that had a truck. We made this friend like a week ago because we just got down here and we were like, oh yeah, this guy, he'll bring his truck, we'll pay him and then we'll load it up. Like we just kind of like made it happen. God.
I love that. But I love the grit and the commitment behind that. Like just figuring out the next step, right?
They say that some people just jump off the cliff and build their net on the way down. And that's kind of how we did that.
Yeah. I mean, Laura, did you know you guys were going to, when you ran your numbers, were you looking at it like a long-term rental or were you actually running numbers like a short-term rental?
We knew we were going to short-term rent it. Yeah. And we do end up, after we've paid the cleaner, the mortgage, all the fees and everything, we cash flow on it very nicely. Like not every single month because some months you have to reinvest into the property, right?
Oh, 100%. What's the mortgage on it if you recall and on that one? or at least around?
I don't know if I know that number, but I can tell you that we are getting about at the end of a month, usually maybe 1,500 cash flow,
Mm,
but not every month.
mhm.
But that's like on a good month, definitely we can do that. I think we've done more like 2 on a really good month.
Yeah,
And
good for
then,
you. Those are great
yeah,
margins. Yeah, I would assume your mortgage is probably around, probably just guess. I mean, you guys got in 10%.
we have a
Ro
really nice interest rate too. It's only like
Yeah,
2.7 maybe.
yeah. You guys are probably like $2,200 a month, maybe
Maybe
mortgage.
it might not even be that much. I
Yeah,
don't know.
wow. Yeah. I mean, there, I mean, and so you're probably bringing around like, that's awesome. Those are some great margins. And so what did you guys use like Air DNA, or like what did you use to kind of forecast your numbers?
Yeah, yeah. My husband did use AirDNA to kind of like check out different markets and see. So we definitely were making sure that the numbers would add up, and he was doing all the number crunching and telling me
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, we can invest here. No, I don't like that idea, Laura. We need to look at something else. He's like doing
Yeah.
the math on the back end for me, and I'm just
Yeah.
running around with crazy ideas.
And the thrifting. So and the thrifting, do you use like Facebook Marketplace?
um, a little bit.
Hmm.
I don't have Facebook. So, oh
Yeah.
yes. So I denounced social media for a while, and now I'm like, oh no, I need to like build a brand for us, but I like got rid of everything. So I'm trying to convince myself to really like put myself back out
Yeah.
there
Was
in
that for
social media world.
sure? Was that for focus, or like what was it exactly? Is there anything tied to that? Just we could take a
I
page
think
from your book.
it was just for me. I feel like I don't like here's my thing. Like if I run into somebody in the grocery store and you're like one of my whatever 1,000 friends on Facebook or whatever you have, like, do you really need to be my friend on Facebook? Am I going to talk to you if I see you in the
Yeah.
grocery store? Or am I going to go run and hide in the aisle and be like, woo, that was close? Like I almost had to talk to that person. That would have been kind of awkward. I haven't seen them in a really long time. But like, so I just started thinking like, all right, I'm going to just build an Instagram and I'm going to have that criteria. And if I would come up and talk to you and be excited to see you in the grocery store, you can be my friend. And otherwise, if you worked with me 3 jobs ago, but we don't talk to each other anymore, bye.
I respect that.
But
Yeah, no,
really
I
it's
respect
just
that.
because it takes up so much of your time.
Yeah.
And I get so entranced, like, wow, is that what your kid ate for breakfast? Did I just spend 30 minutes on my computer,
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
good for
like,
you
well,
then. If it's a way to allow you to um, look how far real estate has gotten you from educating yourself and reading those pages per day and all that. By any means, I want to give our audience the permission to do that, because I think it's required sometimes to trim the fat. I find myself trying to do the same at times, but I've already sold my soul to social media. No, I'm just
I think you
kidding.
have, but that's okay because social media serves you well and you use that in such a positive way for your business. And I think that's awesome. I
Yeah,
think
thank
maybe
you.
I just need to figure out how to harness the power of social media because I
Yeah.
wasn't using it correctly before.
Yeah,
Um,
so I just to that point, for context, I'm glad that you highlighted that, because I just went to lunch with, shout out to Mike Chang, investment banker here in New York. Turns out we worked at the same company. He booked a call because I make myself accessible, guys. Like, just find my time on the calendar. And unless if it's very like, and I don't know why we're meeting, and I'll get my assistant to like be like, hey, why are we meeting? But otherwise, if it's like you state the reason why, you can probably make it on my calendar. And so this guy's like, hey, I saw you on Instagram. uh as in, like, I've been following your stuff and I had no idea. And this is the cool thing that what I like about this social media, in the on the positive side of, not because I actually don't consume a lot of social media by any means. I produce a lot of it and I have a whole team behind it. But the fact that I went to lunch with him yesterday, Mike and I ate lunch, and he has 29 units. He's been doing it since 2017. He's owns everything with him and his wife. He's doing rental arbitrage. I learned a lot. And he actually sent me his, it's on my to-do list. I have to check out his template, because he's like, I'm telling him what I want to do. He's like, why don't you use this? Have you used that? And like, that's what it's about. Like, trying to find like-minded people like yourself and I and connect with them and foster a relationship. Like, for example, I'm going to use my Instagram now to DM you and be like, hey, did you do your Spanish? Because I see you online. Did you do your Spanish? Right?
That's
Like,
good.
that's going to be, there's power there. Right. So I think
There is.
use it wisely. Right. Everything like, just like we use real estate as a vehicle to offer experiences for others. Some might use it as LTR. Maybe they're not leveraging the tool the best possible, or maybe they are, or maybe they're using. So I feel it's like it's the tool. It's like, how are you using it, right?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So since you're like out there and you're public and you're on multiple platforms, which I think is so cool,
Mhm.
how do you like keep yourself feeling safe, like knowing that there are some weirdos out there?
That's a really good question. So you know what I do, Laura?
What?
If you look at all the things that I posted when I was in San Diego, it's after I've already left. So I think you need to be very safe and not post where you are at the moment. Especially, I speak with that with my wife too. Like, it's people are getting, if we go on a trip, you're probably getting, you probably, even in my story, it's not real time. And I think that's smart, right? You don't ever want to post in real time. You want to post, hey, I was there, I'm not there now. Right. And now what people really want to do you want to be very careful on sharing your location, because these devices now are pinning it exactly where you are.
Mm.
And this is a real thing with the new iOS update, that you don't want to be like, hey, I'm chilling here in my house and you're doing a tour, and someone who's following you knows exactly where you are at that moment and can go find you. Like, that's really a thing. So definitely, this is how you use the tool. Be smart about it. That's a good one, right? So that one is, I will always post in arrears. Like, I've already been there. I'm gone now. Now, if I'm here in my home, I mean, I don't post my location at home, but people know I'm in New York and like, okay, cool. Like, come find me in the city. But just being mindful of that, right? And like, I respect people who maybe choose not to show their kids. Maybe they do, right? There's a lot of influencer kids now, or maybe you don't. I respect both. I think as long as you're very clear on what your intentions are. My intentions are, I've built a huge network just from social media. I've met people in person. I'm like, are you the real estate experiment? I'm like flattered. And then it's kind of like we hit it off. Like, we've known each other. They listen to the show. It's a really cool thing. So but yeah, be safe, right? Because there are some weirdos and creeps, but I think it's how you use something. And I think for me, I look at the ROI and I get a higher ROI from being on social than not being on it.
Awesome. I'm so glad I asked that question because I don't think that was something that I had at the front of my mind, but that's very, very good. Very good. Okay, cool. I actually have another question for
Oh my
you,
God, I love this.
but I'm like kind of shifting gears now, going back to like short-term rentals,
Yeah.
which is where you really thrive. So I know that you're doing some property management, right?
Mhm.
So I am actually getting ready. Well, my husband and I were getting ready to start a partnership
Yeah.
where we are going to manage the property.
Good for
They
you.
are buying the house and they don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
They've got the means to buy a
Mhm.
house, but they want us to run it. So
Oh,
we're
I
the
love it.
sweat equity, right?
Yeah.
So it's a nice deal for us. We do get some equity in the
Congrats.
house, but
Oh,
there's
congratulations. You got equity as well, which is one thing we're doing, where we're starting to do. Good for you.
yes. Well, there's some stipulations around like they have to earn back their initial costs, like from startup and everything, which is really smart. And I support that.
Yeah.
But, anyways, it's a great deal. We're going to be doing more property management, is the long and short of it.
Yeah.
So I have had a pretty good experience with my guests. Now, obviously, we have had some guests come and tell us they were staying for one thing and end up partying. I think that's just
Hmm.
part of the Airbnb life. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty easygoing. So it's like, whatever, as long as you
Yeah.
don't break anything large or like do something ridiculous, it's just don't let me know about it. Right.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So,
Yeah.
anyways, what do you do? Like, how has been your experience with managing like damages? Because I haven't had big damages
Mhm.
yet, but I am a realist and I realize that it's going to happen. What's
Yeah.
been your experience with that doing management?
Yeah. So first layer of defense for your your investor friends, your partners, is insurance. Getting the right insurance is going to be the first layer of defense. So like proper insurance. Have you heard of that?
Proper insurance?
Yeah. Have you heard of proper? PROPER?
I think maybe I have.
Yeah. So if you don't look into it, because it's for now you're tapping into the commercial side. It's literally, you can change it to whatever insurance, or if they're about to buy, or if they already have them change it to proper insurance, because it means like if something is taken from the house, if the house is vacant and something happens, they're covering the goods inside the house in addition to the home. I'm actually going to send you a text right after we're done on that link. Look into them, because that's the first layer of defense, right? And then the
Mhm.
second layer of defense, we obviously leverage Airbnb. And when you list your home on Airbnb and VRBO, you do have like you have air cover for Airbnb, and like VRBO has the other $1 million coverage or whatever. We
Yeah.
filed actually multiple claims on behalf of our um properties that we manage as well, including our own, and they're very good with it. You want to basically educate your cleaners to, when they see something is like literally either missing or defective, get pictures, right? And then we
Mm.
keep receipts of everything as well, so that if they come back and they say, hey, like how much was, how much, they only ask two things: cost to replace, then you can send them your Amazon link, that's what we like to send, or cost of things you've already replaced, and you can actually send them the receipt, right? They're
Okay.
good with it. They're very good with it. Layer defense number one is insurance, proper insurance, as in like, yeah, literally the word proper. There's a few other ones in there, but you really want to have really good insurance, and then you want to be able to leverage the OTAs that do have insurance. If you're using stuff like Booking.com, etc., I would be just aware of like what they cover and what they don't. But I can tell you from my experience of what we use, Airbnb and VRBO, you can file claims, and they're very good at honoring those. And just always want to document everything.
Okay, awesome. That's kind of
Yeah.
already what I'm doing, but I
Yeah.
need to look into proper. I I'm not sure exactly what we have, so I'll just have to check with hubby. But yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds
Love
good.
that.
That sounds
Check with
like kind of
hubby.
what we've already done. I trained
Yeah.
my cleaner from day one. She's so good. I love her.
Yeah.
She's like a friend.
Oh,
She's almost more like family at this point. And
isn't it
she's like,
amazing?
yeah, it is amazing. Her family actually was very involved in the flip of the house. They kind of
Yeah.
work with that team. And then we just were like, hey, do you know a cleaner? And he was like, yeah, my wife's a cleaner. So we were like, bam,
Oh,
she's hired. It just kind of worked out. But
I love your circle that you built. That is so important though. Like your ecosystem, like that's what we built in Atlanta, and we're just so grateful for it. I'll give you a hack with your cleaner that I heard is that was really a game changer for us. I don't
mm,
know. Again, right now, might be your current property, but as you scale up, we empower that cleaner to be like the manager, and she or he could be the head cleaner, and then you tell them, because they know all your standard operating procedures, to manage the other cleaners. So we use a PMS software called Guesty for Host, where when someone books, they have access to our calendar, they get a text notification, everything, and they're the
mhm.
ones managing that expectation and response, so that it gives you a layer of breathing room, or even movement, if you don't want to be involved with like, all we do is handle the paying. But this person is, and she's, shout out to Felicia, she's amazing, our runner. She books the other cleaners, covers, where her incentive that she gets first dibs on her coverages, so she can make as much money as she wants or whatever, and she gets a retainer on top of that. And then if she's unavailable, she can assign someone else to like do the cleanings that she can't. And so she has her own little
Oh,
business, and we've also referred her more business too. And so she's forever grateful for us. She's pulled her son into it. Her husband is the lawn guy, like, you know what I mean? The landscaping, right? So it's
yes.
really neat when you can kind of like pull in a team like that, where like there's like family involved, and everyone's kind of in it, and like everyone has skin in the game, and like everyone, and yeah, I just think that like that's really why I love this business, right?
Yeah,
It really
definitely.
is.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So I mean, look, I mean, okay, so you guys are like super inspirational, just because of I love people who just have an idea and then they commit and they do it. And I can just tell already, like, congratulations on already working on like a co-host deal. Like, if you ever, or co-management deal, if I can be of any help, like, I will, let's geek out on that offline. I'll
Okay, good.
share tons of resources. Seriously. And yeah, I was gonna say, like, what do you think is next for you guys? I feel like you're drinking the Kool-Aid now. You got the bug. What do you think is
Definitely.
next for you guys?
I love that you asked that. So we're definitely gonna scale our business. our goal is not to take over the world with real estate. Like, we don't want 300 units or anything crazy, but I do want to get like a nice portfolio that's ours, that's like maybe 10 units in various areas. We love Beaufort. It's such a good market that we're kind of like, it would be really silly for us not to continue to invest there. But we also are kind of daydreaming about investing in another market, maybe in like the North Carolina, maybe the Tennessee mountain area, like the Smokies. So we kind of have found that the secondary markets are working well for us. So we kind of thought like, ooh, Gatlinburg, but everyone has had that thought at some point, right? So we were like, okay, if not Gatlinburg, where? So we were thinking maybe Maggie Valley or Bryson City. There's like, that's more in North Carolina, but it's close. It's close enough that you could say, okay, well, we're just going to go over to Pigeon Forge for a day. You know what I mean? And it's still like a really beautiful area. It's more affordable. And I also was talking to Avery Carl. They're doing a lot of stuff in that area now, which is kind of like that green light for me. Like, oh, they're investing over there. Well, we should probably invest over there with her.
Avery's awesome. She's actually also been on the show. It was so nice to see her. But she, they got that entire part of Georgia, and I mean, she also came from Tennessee as well. But so they have that, like, wherever they go follow. They're big on their data. They know what they're talking about, and I'd love to kind of hear more about what your thoughts are. I do have we had Bill Faith on the show as well, who's very big on that, what you just said, secondary markets. I'll share with you an episode. I'm like writing this stuff down that I gotta share with you. Property insurance episode with Bill. And there's also this thing for Guesty that I want to share with you. Statements. And so his whole thing is just what you said. It's like, where is the traffic? Like the traffic that's going to those destination areas, where do they have to go through? Or where are they stopping by? Or where do they, or where can they also access you? And like kind of being in the line of sight of those traffic areas. It was very interesting. He describes it very well, much better than I can clearly, but I loved how he said that, like, don't go where everyone is, like, when everyone's going left, go right. Everyone's going through the big, oh my God, Gatlinburg, like everyone's like crushing in that area. Like, oh my God, Florida. Like, hey, again, guilty. I'm like, I like the idea of Florida just because of Florida. But let's not forget these secondary, right, markets that like maybe are not the hottest thing, but like, because this kind of real estate that we're in is so hyper locally like driven, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like the possibility.
It's very interesting. There's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of value in those areas, and it's nice for people that are not like ready to drop $500,000 at a moment's notice. Because you can invest and you can make really nice returns without having to, break the bank, so to speak.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I could literally be here with you forever, and I want to be mindful of your time, mindful of the productivity, mindful. You got to learn. Did you do your Spanish today?
Actually, no.
See, so I got to give you that time back to make sure you can squeeze in that Spanish, and I'll make sure that I have my accountability things I got to do as well today. But I do want to give a shout out. That's the bell. See, it's time.
That's my son. It sounds like they're home.
Listen, I obviously love your Instagram page, Vacation Villa, right? Did I get that right?
Oh yes, that's hot. Off the press.
Vacation Villas and More. You guys gotta check that out. I love the name, by the way. Hello, yes, for joining us. Oh, that's so cute. He's close. You know what I love about this is you came in and opened up the show. What's the name of the little man?
This is Leo.
Leo came in and opened up the show, and Leo just knew that we were closing it up as well. So where can I know that you're kind of like hitting on social because you're focused on building your empire, which we respect. But if people do want to check out, is the best place Instagram?
Yes, I would say Instagram. The Villas and More page. That's the one. I'm going to build it up. I
I
might
love
even
it.
start doing stuff with social media. I don't know. Maybe
I
I'll
don't
start
know.
creating some content. I made my first reel. I'm on
Oh,
fire.
we're gonna give you a reel by being on this episode. We're gonna give you a few actually, and what we're
Oh,
gonna do
good.
is send you the raw ones too, so you could post it on your platform. But I think you're selling yourself short. I think I there's not a lot of people that can say like, oh, like you're I don't know, why do we love Laura? I don't know, we just do. And I think that's a gift of yours. So I would definitely tap into it. I think you can attract a lot of people in your network that can honestly lead to those 10 units that you're talking about. You might not even have to go searching for them. They'll come and find you, just like you found your tribe at Bigger Pockets. Look at that, how we brought that together.
That was nice. Well
Yeah.
done.
But no, seriously, thank you so much, Laura, for coming on the show. What are some words of wisdom to any maybe someone who's getting started, who gotten some traction like you have, who's doing an amazing job, but a message you want to leave to the people, for being on the show? And I think it was just an incredible to have you here. But like, any lasting words that you want to leave some of Experiment Nation?
I would say doing the experiment, don't overthink it. There's so much information out there, and you could try to soak it all in. And I do recommend that you learn as much as you can, but just jump in there, mix stuff together in the lab, see what happens.
Ooh,
Because the
love
more you just kind of like try different things,
that.
you'll figure out where your niche is. You'll figure out what you need to be doing. Just like my story about how we started out in Florida and then we ended up where we
Yeah.
are. You kind of just figure it out as you go.
Keep
And the
climbing
journey
the
is fun.
surface.
We got to go on some trips and we got to do some fun stuff that we would have done if we hadn't been trying to figure out where we were going to invest.
Love that. Love that. I gotta quote that somehow. Might be the new exit of our show. You kind of pretty much summarize like what it's all about to be in the lab. Experiment, fail, or repeat, and do it the Villas and More way. Thank you, Laura, for coming on the show with that. And just like that, we are out.